Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spirits of the Balkan. Did we call it Spirits of the Balkan or Spirits of Balkan Zoom? Anyways, welcome, and I'm so happy that you're here. And my name is Satu Lindgren. I'm a Toxicity Entities Facilitator. And we also have another guest today, a surprise guest, another Toxicity Entities Facilitator. At the moment, she is hiding, so let's see if she will actually show her face also. And let me just do one thing with the video. Here we go. It's very funny. I have been at classes for 2 weeks, and there was the Global Barks Day, which was like a really full-on day of everything. And now I don't actually remember how anything works anymore. It's very funny. So I can't even remember like how does Zoom work or how do things at my home work. I just got home last night. And yeah, it's been very funny to find out how things work again after taking some time off to take some classes. So is there anybody here who is totally new to Access, who doesn't know anything about Access or what Toxic Entities is? Or actually, I'm just going to assume that yes.
Me.
So,
I don't know anything.
Who was that?
Maya.
Okay, so I'll tell Maya, who doesn't know anything about Access, that Toxic Entities, this Zoom is Toxic Entities Zoom, and Toxic Entities is sort of like a specialty of Access consciousness. And Toxic Entities was created by Shannon O'Hara, and it all started because she had massive capacities with entities, but she tried to be normal and she tried to fit into this world and be like everybody else. And then she had all these different problems because of that. And eventually she started looking at, okay, I need to do something about this. And that's kind of how Toxic Entities eventually was born. And now we have tons of facilitators all over the world. And there is actually one there that is now not hiding anymore. Maya, do you want to say hi? Do you want to say anything else?
Hi, everybody. My name is Maya, and yeah, I've been a Toxic Entities facilitator for I don't know how many years now, maybe 4 or 5. And yeah, it's an amazing topic, and it's so beyond, like, it's, if you think it's about the entities, you're right, and you're like totally wrong at the same time, because it's about so much more than just the entities. So it's a really wonderful subject that can open up your world and your awareness in a way that I would say almost no other class can do it for you if you really choose to step into your knowing about the entities. And that's one of the things that I love most about this class, that it really opens up like knowing, being, and receiving, yeah, for you if you choose it.
And it's awesome that you're here because you're almost from the Balkan area, right?
Yes. Right. Well, if people want to be a little bit, or if we Hungarians want to be a little bit ironic, then we say that we are a part of the Balkans. We're not really, but like, yeah, so we kind of play around with that if we want to be ironic.
That's funny. And we also, like, in Access, we have these different like work groups for different countries. And we have the one that is for Scandinavian countries. So we have Finland, that I'm from Finland, and then we have Sweden and Norway and Denmark and Iceland. And then we were let's just add Estonia as well. In Access, Estonia is part of Scandinavia. So welcome to a possibility to let go of the limitations that we have and just go like, what's going to work here? What's going to create greatest here? And that is actually something that really comes up a lot at Toxic Entities classes, because people ask, okay, how should I do this? How should I communicate with entities? Or how should I live my life, or how should I do this, what should I choose here, but there isn't one that you should do. It is about what will actually work, what will create the most. So that's also what this Zoom is, and what all the Talk to the Entities classes is, finding out what works for you. Not what everybody else does, or what you did yesterday, or what worked yesterday, but what will work right now. So one thing that we will be using is the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. And if you have not heard of it, it's this litany of words that all bring up an energy, and they clear different levels of energies and what actually is creating a limitation. So you don't need to understand it. It just sounds super weird at first. I remember when I heard it the first time at the Access Bars class, the only thing I could remember from it was shorts and boys. I was wondering, why does the facilitator keep saying shorts and boys? Like, this is just makes no sense to me. So don't worry about it. It will work even if you don't get it. But that is just something that we will be using here. Hi, Albena. You're here also. I see you on the chat. Awesome. So if you have questions, you are more than welcome to ask them at any time, or if you have something that you would like us to talk about. And you can also, you can unmute yourself, or you can write in a chat, or you can let your translator know what your question is, and they can also ask. And Albena is saying that the Balkan entities demanded that she comes on. Yes. So, okay, what entities and energies have demanded your energy, and you have refused it and ignored it and just did not want to hear it, but they still keep demanding you and knocking on your shoulder until you have a shoulder pain. Everything that is, can we destroy and upgrade that? Right, everyone, get back on a book on so what is an entity? Because this is Talks to the Entities Zoom. We talk about spirits of the Balkan, but the spirit there, it kind of means entities of the Balkan area. So an entity, the very broad definition of an entity is an energy that is defined, whether it has a body or doesn't have a body. So all of us, we're also entities, but we also just happen to have bodies right now. And then there are all these other energies that can be, that are defined, that we can talk about them as entities. Like a tree. If you go next to a tree and there are different trees, do you perceive the difference between the different trees? They have their own defined energies. And the business can be an entity, a book can be an entity, art, like a painting, it can be an entity. So what kinds of entities and energies have demanded and asked and begged for your attention, and you have refused to give that to them? Everything that is, can we destroy and upgrade it all? Right, everyone, get on book on I just praise and beyond. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Or Maya, do you have something that you want to say?
Not really. I really enjoy the way you're presenting this, and it's really awesome. And I'm listening and learning.
Well, thank you.
Actually, I love that you mentioned the trees, how the different trees have different energies, because I haven't really thought about that, but they do. And well, if you don't mind me talking a little bit about trees, then I would share an experience that I had in Costa Rica. That we went on the highway, which is like one lane there and one lane back. So that's the Costa Rican highway, and the trees beside the highway were amazing. The way they kind of they were growing towards each other, and the way their branches and leaves were, it was like the way when we went, I felt like the energy, they were dropping energy down to the earth, and it was like a very beautiful beautiful energy exchange, how from the leaves and the trees, you know how the willow has these long branches, and they're soft and they're pointing toward the ground, and that's how it was, like it energetically, that's how it was, like it was really, the trees were really gifting the earth energy. And of course they are receiving the energy, they were receiving all the nutrition and everything from, and energies from the earth, and they were gifting back, and there was this beautiful thing going on. And then we were also driving another time beside a banana plantation, and I looked at the banana trees, and like compared, like I was feeling this, oh my god, the normal trees, like beside, they were full of energy, they were just exuberant with energy. And then I saw the banana trees, and they were literally sad, they were abused, they were like, oh my god. And the contrast between the two was just so strong, I couldn't help but notice. So how, like, trees and plants and everything which is really nurtured have this amazing energy compared to those which are just used, and they never really receive gratitude. They're just like, give your banana to me, give your banana to me, because I need money. That's the energy they got. And so when I saw them, I just flowed immense gratitude towards them. So at least they receive a little gratitude. So yes, like, even like, and what you see.
Stop you there.
Yeah.
You said at least they received a little gratitude, but how little are you? Was it really a little gratitude, or was it actually a lifeline for them?
It was, yeah. It's like, yeah.
Because that's kind of also what I would like to talk about today.
Wow.
You brought up the trees. Oh, maybe I brought up the trees, but you like picked it. But like this thing, how much we can contribute to everything, and us acknowledging things can be a massive contribution, and that's the way we can change the world. It doesn't have to be like, now we have to go on a mission and save all the banana trees or anything like that. But just the fact that, okay, this is how most people are looking at banana trees and using them and not even noticing them and just taking it for granted. And then there's one person who goes like, oh, thank you so much. How much that can change in the world and for the banana trees in the whole world. So you're the Maya, the banana tree changer.
That's gonna be my name from now on. Please use my full name after this.
Maybe you should change that on the Zoom,
Yeah, maybe I should. Let me change it. Talk a little bit so I can rename myself.
So yeah, and it's actually interesting. There's been a lot of talk about trees lately, and there is something very interesting with how the trees are, like, they are contributing and creating something very interesting with the earth, and how they are really, like, I don't know what word to use, but let's just call for all the trees in the Balkan area and ask them to be part of this Zoom, and ask us to acknowledge all the trees and start creating communion with and as and of the trees. Everything that doesn't allow that, can we discern and create that? Maybe some of you have heard that Access has created this kind of a fund for actions for futures, and then part of that is also actions for forests. Or no, it's actions. What is it called? Trees, futures for trees.
Actions for futures.
Yeah,
and there is a part where you can donate for the future forest.
Future forest. Futures for forests, something like that. Maybe, Albena, you're quick at finding stuff, right? You can find a link to that or something. Ah, there we go. Actions for future, forests for futures. That's it. So, and the moment that part, that forests for futures was added to actions for futures, it just started getting much bigger. And also people who started contributing to these funds, their lives and everything started creating massively bigger. So what can we acknowledge and play with the trees that would create crater for everyone with total ease. Everything that doesn't matter, can we destroy and create that? I had a very interesting experience with, I remember this one specific tree when I was at my first Choice of Possibilities class. It's a 3-day class, and I was actually in Mexico for that. And then during one of the lunch breaks, Jane here did this ESC. It's energetic synthesis of communion. It's really, really amazing, yummy thing. And it creates this communion with you and everything that's around you and with the planet and everything. And I remember that I walked out of there and I was like, oh, wow. And then I was walking this little pathway that went to my, like the room that I was staying in. And suddenly there was this tree and it felt like it jumped in front of me. And I was like, how did a tree do that? But I was just noticing everything, all of the nature and everything in such a different way after that ESC. So yeah, I had completely forgotten about that. But now that you mentioned your story, Maya, now I remember this one. So what can all the trees contribute to us, and what can we contribute to trees that we have never considered before? And everything that doesn't allow that, can we destroy and upgrade that? Wow. The Zoom is over. That was really good. What do you all know about trees in your area, in your neighborhood, and in your city, and in your country that no one else does, and that no one else is acknowledging that you can now acknowledge? Wow. Anything else? Maya the banana tree savior, or anybody else? Do you have any questions?
Well, I would like to add, like, it's not just the trees, but also all the spirits who are around the trees and around the plants in general.
Cool.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's so interesting that we are talking about this, because I just had a 2-day talk to the entities class here in Budapest, and during that there was one lady who mentioned a very interesting thing, that she was in Poland in a forest, and how the Polish forest where she was felt so much more alive and so much more different than the forest she has been in Hungary. So, and I was wondering, and she made it a little bit about, you know, the tragedy and stuff, of like, oh, the Hungarian forests are so dead or not unalive. And I was really wondering, like, what else is possible with that? Because I don't know, have you seen, there was a video that the Australian CFs did about the Australian big fires, and they looked at it from such a space and such no point of view. I have never ever heard anybody talk about, like, a group of people talking about like a tragic event with so much space and so much possibility. And since then, I'm so aware of that we think that going into the tragedy and the feelings and all of that creates something, but actually it doesn't. But this is what we have learned. So what can we look at that kind of thing, like what is possible with trees and entities, and beyond, like if we see that, oh, they are their suffering. So what is possible beyond suffering with this subject? For example, with trees, I mean, you know, the land is in so many places, it's poisoned in some ways. So it's so easy to go into that. So I'm looking for what else is possible with that. That is my question.
So let's do a little bit of motivation here to start with. You can either create and focus on the suffering, or you can create possibilities. So everywhere where we are committed to the suffering and fighting with the suffering instead of choosing possibilities, can we just integrate that?
Yeah.
And this is something that I've talked a lot in these Zooms before, that in Peter Pan there is this fairy, the Tinkerbell, and then they say that every time a child stops believing in fairies, a fairy dies. And then that's made into this, it's very significant, like, oh my God, a fairy dies if you don't believe in them. But they don't really die, they just leave your world. You will no longer have any connection to them, and then you'll just be very tragic about it, instead of going like, okay, where am I not seeing the fairies that I could be seeing the fairies? Where am I not seeing the possibilities with the trees and this land, where I could be seeing the possibilities and contributing to the possibilities instead of the problems? Welcome to a very beginner Zoom. So what do you all know about, okay, let's start with this. All the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections you have about spirits of the earth, trees, nature beings, and you and your body. And everything that is, can we just turn and get that? Right over on good and bad, but in Balkan, nature, space, and beyond. Whew, okay. And all the lifetimes that you have been playing with the spirits of the earth and the trees and this planet, and it has not been allowed, can we just turn and grade that? Right around good and bad, but in Balkan, nature, space, and beyond. And everywhere where you hide everything that you know about all of this, can we discern and grade it all? Right over and good and bad, but in Balkan, nature, space, and beyond. And how much is that fight that we have with, like, we want to save the planet and we want to, you know, fight for it? How much is that fight, our fight, against our awareness of what would actually change it? Everything that is, can we discern and grade that? Right around good and bad, but in Balkan, nature, space, and beyond. As long as we keep on fighting and fighting and fighting, we don't allow ourselves to have the actual awareness that we have that could change it all. So everywhere where you are just fighting and fighting and fighting, instead of being aware, can we just turn and get that? Right, everyone, good and bad, but in Balkan, nature, space, and beyond.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
When the Siberian forests were burning, I figured out if we live in communion with the earth, and earth knows our pains also, as we know the pain of earth. When the fires were there, those were cheddars, I don't know, 1,000 years old, and very mystical trees, and people have different respect towards those trees because they are healing. And I was thinking, we are talking how terrible this is, how what happened was a disaster, but who knows, we never ask ourselves if those trees didn't want to help us, to help all the earth, to give what they have as magic, to give their oxygen, to give their healing powers. And because they can't do that one by one, they decided, made the decision to burn and to spread all this through fire to the earth and to help people. Because after that, I heard that ozone holes were smaller. So who knows what helps, what doesn't. And if we see the possibilities like that, we will see completely another planet where everything is communion. It's like when you have a virus, the body is having temperature, but the temperature is not bad. It is healing the body. And also, one other thing that I was noticing once when I was in a park walking the dog, and it was so peaceful in the morning, and I saw the harmony of everything. For example, pigeons around, leaves were falling, cats were running around, and I was thinking how the nature is living in communion. One leaf is not quarreling with the other leaf because they took their place when they were falling. And they are not quarreling because one tree has more leaves than the other, that this branch is closer than this one, like we are doing all the time. Yeah. And I thought we should learn from the nature how to give each other space, how to respect each other. I mean, it was fantastic what I felt that morning.
Yeah, and that is a very good point, how much we only look at like, oh my God, this tree is burning, that's the end of the world, everything is horrible, instead of just stepping a little bit more back and looking at, okay, what is the actual big picture here? What future is this creating? And is the nature really that dumb that it would do something to, destroy itself? Or is it just looking, okay, how can I thrive? How can I create more? How can I be more alive? And looking at, okay, what do I need to do to achieve that? Maybe it is to burn and to burn everything into ground to wake us up. Or maybe it is, like you said about the trees, just spreading the stuff around the world and closing the ozone layers. There is so much about nature that we pretend that we know because we have calculated it with our computers that cannot even begin to do what nature does. Nature works in all these different ways that is always different based on what's required. Nature is conscious. Nature chooses what will work chaotically in each moment. And then we try to look at it based on what we can logically think or what we have seen that happened last year, for example. But nature is like, what last year? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm looking at what's going on right now and what will create the future. So everything that doesn't allow us to be the infinite beings and be the space of infinite beings that would allow us to step outside of the trauma and actually look at what will create the future, can we destroy and create that?
Yes.
And there has been a lot of talk about one of the very, very basic access tools called interesting point of view lately. And that is one of the greatest gifts that I would say that we can be in this moment for the planet and for ourselves and our bodies as well, to be in interesting point of view. So the way that this tool works is that you have some point of view. For example, you read in the news that the forests in Siberia are burning, and then everybody's like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. You go, okay, interesting point of view that they have this point of view that the forests are burning. And you just go and repeat that until you get to this more of a space with that. And the more you use this tool, the more you can actually start choosing to be that. Be the space of interesting point of view, like the nature is. The nature has no point of view. The nature is just like, oh, this happens. Okay, what do we do to change that? Or what can we do next? Or what else is possible? Oh, this tree is here and it has big branches going over here. And the other tree is here. No problem. Interesting point of view. So everything that doesn't allow us to be as nature-like that we actually are, can we destroy and create that? And where are your bodies coming from?
The earth.
Yeah. So our bodies are from the earth. And if you have a body that is from the earth, that is part of the earth and created from the earth, are you maybe more earth-like than you think you are? So everything that doesn't allow you to acknowledge the earth in you and you in the earth, can we discern and create that? Whatever good and bad, but in Balkan, energy, space, and beyond. This is a completely different Zoom than the other ones have been before. Like it, Paul? Thank you, everyone. Does anybody have any questions? No. Spirits of Balkan. Oh, we talked very briefly before about the, we mentioned the trees, but then also what spirits and beings are with the trees or around the trees, and all of these different beings that we can call the spirits of the earth or nature spirits. There's like tons of different beings of the earth. And what I find very interesting is that in different languages, we have different words for different beings. And then in other languages, we don't have words for them because those beings don't exist in that part of the planet. So people who spoke that language in that area never had to invent words for certain beings because they just don't exist there. Like there is a word, banshee, which is considered one of the beings of the like nature spirits. And we don't have a word for that in Finnish. Like, it's always weird to explain that. And when I even explain that in Finnish, everybody's like, I don't get, what is that? So I'm just kind of curious also, what kinds of words do you have in your languages in the Balkan area for different kinds of spirits of the nature? And it can be also interesting sometimes to just start Googling that and see what kinds of stuff shows up and look at what are the specific beings that you have in your area. Not for any specific reason, not to make it significant. I think it's just very interesting to find that out. And I once, I Googled that in Finnish and I looked at all these different things. I was like, oh wow, that's like a really long list. I think it was like 50 different names for different nature beings. And then in some languages you have like 5. And is it because there are no nature spirits in that area? Maybe not, but maybe it's just that the people in that area have not been that willing to be aware of them and give them names and play with them. So what kinds of spirits of the earth are in the Balkan area, in the forests and in the waterfalls and in the sea, in the coastal areas and in the mountains, that we can now say hi? Sometimes people think that talk to entities, when you start communicating with the entities, is very significant and there's a very specific formula and you have to like wear specific types of clothes and it has to be the full moon and it needs to be Tuesday and it needs to be like 1:01 in the afternoon and it has to like all these different things that need to happen and you have to jump on your one leg and use very specific words and otherwise it will not work. But actually communicating and talking with the entities can be just as simple as it is to talk with people. So you can just go like, hi. Then it's very interesting because then we get to this point where some people are, but I hate talking with people. If you hate talking with people, you might also not have that much ease talking with entities because it is still that talking and communication that you have to have. Some of the entities though have a very different way of communicating. They are way more energetic and it's more like, it's just not the same way as you would talk with people. So sometimes you might have more ease with entities and sometimes not. And everything that doesn't allow you to find out what works for you, can we discern and grade that? Right, everyone, good and bad, but in Balkan, I choose person beyond. What kinds of beings have you encountered during your life that did not fit the normal definitions of beings that you've decided must exist, so you try to ignore them? Everything that is, can we discern and grade that? Right, everyone, good and bad, but in Balkan, I choose person beyond. another thing that often comes up when we talk about entities, and especially the spirits of the earth, is that the more you try to define them and the more you try to look at them with pictures or the way that you think you should be seeing them, the more you will be cutting off your awareness. Some of the beings of the earth are literally something that none of us has ever seen. And if you have never seen it, how do you know what it looks like? So if you try to look for that picture, you often just end up losing your awareness. What if instead you ask, what am I aware of here? Who is here and who is here present that I might not have any pictures for, that I can still be aware of it? And everything that doesn't allow you to have that awareness, can we just turn and grade that? So what kinds of beings have you been aware of that you have cut your awareness off because it didn't look the way you think it should? Everything that doesn't allow you to have that awareness, can we just turn and grade that? Space and beyond. Still no questions?
Yeah, Satu, I have a question.
Yep.
Well, actually, I was going through a mythology before this call.
I love it.
Yeah, since I went to, like, I know we are having a really rich mythology around here, but I was never like going through really books. And then I realized that there is like really bunch of books with all this stuff. Even with the demons, like through our mythology, we are having like a good demons and the bad demons. Like not all the demons are actually bad. And I was like, what? This is something new. And what I noticed is like really most of those beings, you were talking about this on your previous Zoom, like most of these beings are just presented like so dark and so like terrifying. And actually, can we talk again a little bit more about that, because this mythology is really dark around here. I mean, what you can find on the internet.
Yeah, I love that. You want to translate that first?
Uh-huh.
That was a good translation break. Loved it. So yeah, that when I started doing these Zooms, I think maybe September last year, and the first one that I did was Spirits of the North, and I just had an idea that let's do this, and I didn't think about it becoming like a series of Zooms or anything like that. And then just before that Zoom, I was Googling like what kinds of spirits and what kinds of stories do we have about different earth beings here in the North. And all the stuff that I found, it was really dark, like super these like demonic creatures, and all the pictures were literally dark, right? Really dark colors, and all these like beings that did not look very much fun to talk with. And then that's something that we've been talking a lot in these Zooms. How much do we, when we see something and we're not quite sure what that is, or we're aware of something, an energy or a being, and we're like, oh, I don't know what that is, then we don't want to really look at that, and then we hide it in this kind of darkness. So we make it seem really, really dark, or we just give it like this picture in our head that looks really like ugly, because we don't want to look at that because it is something that we don't previously know. And how many people who previously encountered different beings of the earth and were so terrified of them because they were something that they had not seen before, nobody had told them about them, and the energy was so strange, it was so different, and they were like, oh my god, what do I do about this? And then they just decided that, yes, it was this like man with 5 heads and it was like a tall as a tree, and, you know, instead of actually being aware of what it really was. And a lot of the spirits of the earth, they're quite potent, like the energies can be quite powerful. And sometimes when the energy is really powerful, we decide that it's bad. It's bad and it's horrible and it's dark and it's a demon or whatever it is. So all the beings that you have been aware of that you have decided are too much, are too powerful, you can't define them, so you hide them in this darkness, so you don't have to look at them and you can run away. Can we destroy and upgrade that? Right, everyone could have put in Balkan, space and beyond.
Can I say something to that?
Yeah.
Like, I think what we do is like we project our fears onto them and make them look scary to us. But actually, like if we don't have a point of view about what is, you know, what is ugly, what is beautiful, what is scary, what is not, like, or what that potency is, then we could actually see them for what they are. But our points of views don't allow us to see them and receive them as they are.
Yeah, it's like we are aware of an energy and then we don't have a picture for that from before, so we paint the picture to match what our definition or what our projection and expectation is, instead of actually being aware of what really is. So therefore, we had the clearing in the beginning. What projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejection do you have about entities, the spirits of the earth, and nature spirits, and you, and everything that is? Can we discern and get it all? Right, everyone, get them back, but I'm buckle on nature, space, and beyond. I'm like, we could run that many times, I think. I was about to say something to that. Yeah, and then sometimes we can like perceive different sometimes when people come to talk the entities classes, they say that, but I don't see entities. I really want to be able to see them, like really see them with my eyes. But then if they actually were to see them, they would freak out because they don't want to see them. Because sometimes they just look very different. Like they might look like something that you would only see in like movies or in some fantasy films or whatever. And then if you actually really literally would see something like that walking there in the street, many people think that they would just freak out too much. So that's why they don't want to see that stuff. And for most people, actually, the entity awareness is being aware, perceiving it. You don't have to see it with your eyes. And in fact, many people don't. But then the more and more you let go of your projections and expectations and judgments and all of that, the more and more you can actually start seeing stuff. But the question is, do you really want to see it? Because it can look weird. And you might see stuff that nobody else does. And then you might not be able to talk about it to anybody else, because if you start looking for validation from other people, they will look at you like, what? And then you cut off that awareness and you don't allow yourself to see them anymore again. So all those times, whether it was in this lifetime or any past lifetimes, that you have been aware of something or someone, you talked about it to somebody else, looking for their validation, and then they look at you like you're weird, so you had to cut off your awareness and think you're crazy. Can we just try and get all of that? Okay. I once had this interesting experience with an entity that was I'm not sure how to define that entity, but it was just this being that was very, very angry. Like it had this like energy, and it just dropped into my house, and there was this really loud crash into my house, and I was like, oh, that was weird. And like you could physically hear the crash, and then there started to be all these noises from downstairs, like somebody was slamming stuff and like really like this kind of stuff, really like loud and angry noises. And I was like, okay, like whatever, like don't care, you want to be angry, just be downstairs, don't care. And then I was living with a roommate, and she came home and she was like, what's going on here? What are those noises? They were so loud that she could hear them also. You just couldn't ignore it. And then I was kind of like, yeah, like don't care, whatever. Just let it be angry. There's somebody who's angry there. I don't care. But then suddenly I was like, wait a second. I have a foundation class starting in a few days. And then I asked that being, I tapped into that being. I was like, wait a second, are you here for the foundation class? And he was like, yeah. It was this really like angry energy. And that point, I became more aware of that entity, and I could in some like way see it. And it really did not look human-like at all. It looked really weird. It was this like big thing, really big thing, like way bigger than I can show, with this like tentacles and stuff. And I was like, am I going really crazy here? Is this really what I'm like being aware of here? I've never seen something like that before. But then when I really tapped into it, and I was like, hey, are you here for the foundation? But like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, then the foundation starts in a couple of days, so you gotta sit pretty until then. And the thing immediately calmed down, and it was just sitting there until the foundation class. But it was like example of one of those times when before I could have maybe been aware of the energy of really like anger and all of that, and then I would have ignored it. I was like, I don't want to look at that. It seems like, oh, why is it so angry? Why is there such a like violent energy? So I would not have even allowed myself to look into that. But I was like, yeah, I don't care if somebody's angry there. I know that I'm the most dominant being in my life. So if somebody wants to be angry there, they have to at least be downstairs. Like, I'm not going to look at that in my life. But then, the list I have, when I don't have that many projections anymore, I can just be like, wait, it's kind of a weird looking thing. Like, I don't even know what that is. And I've never seen anything like that before, but there it is. So all the stuff in your life that has made absolutely no sense to you, and you try to logically think what it is and figure it out by this reality's logic, instead of asking questions and just being aware of what you are aware of, can we destroy and upgrade that? Boys and beyonds. What kinds of entities have you encountered that did not fit into this reality or your definitions or anybody else's definitions that made you then cut off your awareness because that just can't be? Everything that is, can we destroy and upgrade that? What would it take for you to start claiming back and owning your awareness and allow it to be even greater than it has ever been before? Everything that doesn't allow that, can we destroy and upgrade that? Any questions? What do you want to know? Spirits of the Balkan. Everywhere where all the earth beings in the Balkan area have been hiding because of all the wars and everything and all the conflicts that you had there, can we let them know that that's over now?
Yes.
Okay, that was nice. Okay. So sometimes when you have a lot of conflicts and wars and stuff like that in some area, the beings of the earth, they don't die because of that. Or if you have like trees cut down and all of that, it doesn't mean that the earth beings die and they're no longer there, but they do go hiding often. And then you need to let them know that, hey, you can come out now. The war is over. We're not doing this anymore. You are welcomed here again. I see you, even if no one else does. I see you, and I know that you're here, and I acknowledge you. You're welcome here again. Everything that doesn't allow you to be that space, can we destroy and upgrade that? That space and that invitation. Right or wrong, good and bad, but in Balkan, I choose space and beyond. what spirits of the earth in the Balkan area would like to contribute to the trees there? And what spirits of the earth in that area, in the whole world, would like to contribute to you? And what can you all create together? Wait a second, did we start this at like 6 p.m.? It's been an hour almost already. Wow. Where did that go? I didn't realize that at all. So yeah, welcome to a different reality where you might lose the track of time. That's interesting if we look at the earth and the time and how much we make time very significant with the earth. And like sometimes we, for example, the trees that Camelia was mentioning, that they are like 1,000-year-old. Sometimes we look at that and we're like, oh my God, like a tree that was 1,000-year-old, now it's burning, like this is the end of the world. But what if the earth is like, yeah, been here like trillions of years, it was 1,000-year-old tree, but you know, how much longer are we going to be here? What if we create a future where we had like 25 million-year-old trees? Would then the burning of a tree that is 100 or 1,000 years old be such a big trauma? How much more do you need to open your perspective so that you don't get stuck in the little things that are actually creating big changes? Everything that is can we destroy and upgrade that. Right, everyone get a weapon and book on This is like a super not beginner Zoom. I'm claiming all of you. So you might want to listen this a couple of times. And
Satu, I would like to ask something, if possible.
Yeah.
I would like to, I don't know, it popped for me the class that Shannon is doing for the forests in the Brazilian Amazonian forest in, I think, September or something like that.
Yeah, what did you say you want to what?
I was saying that the forest class that Shannon is doing this year, that was created this year, popped for me related to the earth spirits and spirits of the forest.
Cool. I can talk a bit more about that.
Yes, please. Thank you.
So there is a class coming up, in access class in the Amazon forest in September this year, and it will be facilitated by Shannon and I think Katarina and a lot of different facilitators. I think Gary, Dane, Simone, and all of them are going there. And the very interesting thing about that class was that I have always, since I was a little kid, I've always known that I will go to Amazon at some point. It's just been one of those things that, you know, some people know that they will get married. Like they've always known that since they were kids, and that's where they're headed. And for me, or other things like that, whether they will go to a specific university or whatever it is. And for me, it's always been that at some point I will go to Amazon. I know that will just occur at some point, and I will know when the time it is to go there. I had no idea why or what I would be doing there, but this is something that I've known like way before I could read or anything like that. And then at some point I've been wondering, like, how did I know about that when I was just a kid? Like, where did that come from? So all the things that you have been aware of that you haven't acknowledged as your awareness, can we just integrate that? And then I saw this class posted. It's like, oh, okay, this is the thing. Now we're going to the Amazon, and just acknowledging the fact that, okay, I have been aware that this class is coming up in September 2020.
You're frozen.
I'm frozen for everyone? No. Okay.
Good.
Okay, well, it's not going to be on the recording anyway. So, yeah. So I've been aware of this class coming up since I was little. and I've known that that's where we'll be going. So what are the things that you have always known that are part of your future and that are part of creating the future that you would like, and then you try to pretend that this was just a serendipity or whatever that's called, like just an accident, or it just happened, instead of actually acknowledging that this is something that I have been aware of for a long time. I know this is required, and I know that this will create the future that I would like to create. This Zoom has such an interesting energy to it. What kind of future are you all creating that you have not acknowledged? Everything that is, can we destroy and create that? And everywhere where you have never even thought about future as something that you could create, but as something that just happens to you, can we destroy and create that? And everything that doesn't allow you to know that you are part of this planet with your body, and you are someone who can actually change the future of this planet and of us and what we're doing here, can we destroy and create that? And it's not like, it's not this like, oh my God, you have this responsibility now and you must do this and this. But it's like, you can just acknowledge that, and there we go. There we have created a different future. There was something else that I wanted to say about that. Oh, yes, this thing. So sometimes people don't want to be aware of entities, or they don't want to talk with trees, or they don't want to see what's going on with this planet or with their lives or their bodies, because they've decided that if you're aware of it, you have to do something about it, or you're responsible for it. So everywhere where you have decided that it's better not to be aware of the future, because then you are responsible for it and for all the 8 billion people on this planet and their futures as well, can we destroy and create that? Whew, that has interesting amount of energy. This also comes up a lot at the Talk the Entities classes, that people think that if they're aware of an entity, now it's their responsibility to take care of that entity. It's not. You're aware of it means you're aware of it. It does not mean anything else. And then you can look at, okay, I'm aware of this entity. Do I need to do something? Do I want to do something? Is it bothering me that the entity is there? If it bothers you, then do something about it. But if it doesn't, you have absolutely no responsibility to do anything about it. And sometimes it is just when you acknowledge it that will change everything. So how much are you holding back that acknowledgement because you don't want to acknowledge, because you think that then you are bound to that being for 1,000 years and taking care of them? Everything that is, can we destroy and upgrade that? Oh, this has been a really funny Zoom. Thank you so much, everyone. Does anybody have any other questions?
I would just like to mention Talk to the Entities class, which is coming.
You can mention it if you want to.
Yes, so I would love to invite all of you for Talk to the Entities class with Satu in Croatia. It will be with Satu. It will be from 3rd to 5th April, and we will announce the exact address very soon. Welcome.
You can translate and I can say more than. Good. Awesome. So yeah, I have Talk the Entities class coming up it's going to be in Croatia, but then there are also other facilitators who are doing a lot of Talk the Entities classes around the world. And if you want to know more about the spirits of the earth, then Shannon also did some time ago a 3-part telecall. And I don't know, Maya, if you've listened to that, but it's awesome. It's very different things than what we talk about here. So, and the Zoom was also very different than the other Zooms. There's so much information out there, and I could talk about this forever, and I think Shannon as well. So there is a lot if you're interested in more, so just ask for it and see what would create what you would like to create and what would change what you would like to change. And you can go to the talktheentities.com website to find more info as well. And there's also a Talk the Entities Facebook group. There are some different ones for different languages as well, but then the English one is a good place to start where you can just ask for more information if you would like that. And what else? Any other last questions? Awesome. I'm really looking forward to the next part. I think it might be about the seas. Let's see. Thank you so much, everyone. I had a lot of fun. And what else is possible now?
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been amazing.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Vă mulțumim la toată